Hi, I'm Odella Simmons from Career Development Services. Today we're going to learn about career exploration. There are 4 steps to the career exploration process. Step 1 is self-assessment. Step 2 is researching your career and academic options. Step 3 is obtaining relevant and practical experience. Step 4 is planning for university transfer. Today we're going to focus on self-assessment and researching your academic and career options.
The MyPlan assessment looks at 4 areas, including personality, interests, values, and skills. After taking the assessments, you will be able to find occupations that are suitable for your unique set of traits. Let's look at the personality assessment. We'll spend the most time exploring the personality assessment over the others because your personality tends to stay consistent after the age of 20. It's a fairly stable predictor of your fit with an occupation. The assessment is based on the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, a long-standing tool used for over 50 years. The personality assessment explores 4 aspects of your personality: emotional focus, information gathering, decision making, and structural orientation. 2 traits for each aspect sit opposite on a scale. Most people have at least some amount of each of the 2 traits, so it's unlikely that you'd be 100% of one characteristic and 0% of another. Emotional focus. The first personality aspect is emotional focus. Emotional focus explains which social settings give energy and which social settings take energy away from you. At the 2 opposite ends of the spectrum are the terms extroverted and introverted. Extroverts gain energy by being around people. Introverts gain energy by spending time on their own. Here's a way to remember this. Think of words that begin with EX. Typically, they have something to do with outside. So extroverts gain energy from others outside of themselves. Words that begin with in typically have something to do with being inside or within something. Introverts gain energy from within. Next, we have information gathering. Sensor personalities prefer to work with concrete items, facts, and absolutes. Intuitive personalities prefer to work with more loosely defined challenges that do not often have a definite answer. Third, we have decision making, which separates into thinkers and feelers. Thinkers tend to tell it like it is and focus on the correct or right answer in a situation. Feelers seek harmony and look to find agreement among different groups. Lastly, we have the mouthful known as structural orientation. What the heck does that mean? An easier way to think of it is answering the question of how organized or less organized you prefer your work to be. Judgers want an organized, predictable day. Perceivers, on the other hand, prefer a more flexible workplace. Interests. While your personality tends to be consistent after the age of 20 or so, one's interests change throughout their lifetime. Don't believe me? Just ask yourself, what were you interested in 15 years ago? I'm guessing it was something different from what you're interested in today. The interest assessment measures your individual preferences for 6 main interest areas: realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. Each interest score is individual from the others. How you score in each area can be considered your interest fingerprint. Realistic interests involve working with your hands and physically manipulating something. Investigative interests include activities that require someone to learn about something in great detail. Artistic interests encompass tasks that appeal to creativity, beauty, or aesthetics. Social interests focus on helping others. Enterprising interests follow overseeing large projects and managing multiple areas. Lastly, conventional interests entail following rules or procedures. Skills. In MyPlan skills assessment, you're going to be asked to rate your ability across several different skill areas. With your results, you can then match your level of skill with those of a given career field. Be careful though, because the career match for this section does not take into account your interests, personality, or values. Additionally, people tend to exaggerate their skills, so this assessment tends to be the least reliable out of the 4. Values. The values assessment complements the interest and personality assessments. One way to think about values are that they ask the question, what do I wish to get out of performing this job? For some people, money or prestige is very important, and there's nothing wrong with that. For others, having a sense of relationships with coworkers matters the most. For an entirely different group of people, being supported by an employer or being challenged intellectually is valuable. Or maybe you prefer to be your own boss. In that case, you would value independence. Let's put this all together with an example. Imagine that you had a personality configuration that was extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and perceiving. Then let's say you had interests that were social and enterprising. Based on those measures, one of the possible occupations that would be a fairly good match would be sales. Now let's imagine that you take the values assessment and score very high in relationships, which means that you value your relationships with coworkers. We might have a problem then. Most work in sales is fairly individualistic, and often you are competing with the other salespersons. This makes it unlikely that you would develop strong relationships amongst coworkers. Therefore, you're going to have to weigh whether your personality and interests trump your values. A career like counseling might be a more appropriate choice that meets all three. Once you've taken the assessments, here are some recommendations for what to do with the results. First, review each individual assessment's career match, paying attention to the level of education that you want and looking for jobs that are interesting to you. At this point, we don't recommend being too picky. Even if you have a little bit of interest, go ahead and add that job to your portfolio. Repeat for all of the assessment areas. Next, you can use the composite score, which blends the results of all your assessments and makes career match recommendations. Hopefully by this point, you'll have anywhere from 5 to 20 occupations that you are interested in researching further.
Career research. Now it's time to learn about careers a little more deeply. One of the websites that we recommend the most is the Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Outlook Handbook. It's a website run by the United States Department of Labor that researches different occupations in great detail and provides information like the average salary, the number of people currently employed, and growth projections for the next 10 years. Simply search an occupation that interests you. We recommend that you use those 5 to 10 occupations you discovered on your MyPlan assessment. Pay attention to the average salary, bearing in mind that it's a median salary, so you probably won't make that starting out. Look at the number of persons employed in that job occupation. A quick guide I use is that if there's less than 100,000 people performing a job, it's a fairly small job market. If it's between 100,000 and under 1 million people doing that job, I would consider that a medium job market. And if there are over 1 million people performing that job, I would consider it a large job market. We encourage you to look at all the different tabs and explore the job duties, the work environment, pay particular attention to work hours, the education you need, the pay broken down in greater detail, and that includes the top 10 and lowest 10% of earners, the job outlook, which provides a narrative regarding how likely it is to get a job in that occupational field, similar occupations, and more information. It's really easy to get lost in all this data and information, so we recommend going slowly and only deeply researching your top 5 or so occupations. What can I do with this major? Maybe the MyPlan assessment wasn't too helpful, and you don't quite know what occupation to start with. Another option you have is to start with an academic major. We recommend the website What Can I Do With This Major? The name is fairly self-explanatory, as you can select from many different majors. Once you have selected a major, you can then explore it in greater detail, where it will describe different job areas, as well as employers, and also provide tips on how to become more marketable in those specific jobs. At the bottom of the page, you will find links to professional organizations and the Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Outlook information, and plenty of other links. Gaining experience. So what's one thing you almost always do when researching a car? That's right, you take it for a test drive. After researching a whole bunch of careers, we recommend that you stop when you get to your top 2 or 3 careers. At that point, you should try and take the careers out for a test drive. Here's a couple ways you can do that. First, you can look at your own network. Do you have any friends or family members who work in an occupational field? Could they introduce you to somebody who could tell you more about working in that occupational field? If you don't have any personal connections that can lead you to learning more about a career in person, we recommend that you make an appointment to see a career advisor. He or she can help you find someone in your current area who's willing to share about their position and help you learn about what it's really like to do that kind of work. So to start off, I'd like you to go to the Career Development Services website. From there, you're going to navigate down to MyPlan Career Assessments. And then before you hit Access MyPlan, be sure to take note of the access code. By the time you're watching this video, it's probably changed, but go ahead and copy that. So then you're going to want to click on the link that says Access MyPlan, and go ahead and click on Create Free Account. From there, you're going to do the usual things of creating a username, adding your email address, going through all of those required things. We'll fast forward this part for your convenience. They have a CAPTCHA there to make sure that you're a human. Don't forget to agree to the terms of use and click Continue. You're going to select your current level of education, and then you're also going to select your educational ambitions. Don't worry too much about what you put in there. It isn't going to influence your assessments. Last but not least, don't forget to include the license code. Otherwise, it's going to ask for your money. You can find it on our website there, so go ahead, copy and paste it there. Make sure the box is checked that says Share Results with Career Advisor. Otherwise, I can't see it. And that's all it takes to register. Now we'll go through and talk about a lot of the other parts of the MyPlan website after you've registered in another video. But just go ahead and take a moment to orient yourself with the front page. Navigate towards the center of the screen there where it says Take an Assessment. You can go ahead and click on that. From there, you'll have 4 options to take the personality, career interest, career skills, or career values assessments. And they should all say either licensed or free. If not, it means you didn't enter the license code properly. Stay tuned for future videos that explain each of these assessments in greater detail. Today we're going to talk about the MyPlan Career Match. So there's a lot of different ways to get to the career match, but I'm just going to start with your account page, which is the first page you see when you log in. Go ahead and click on My Reports. From there, I'm going to select my personality report, but it really doesn't matter which report you select. From there, I'm going to select the career match link. At the top here, you'll see Scores, Frequently Asked Questions, and Settings. You'll note that the Scores button is already pressed. That's what you're viewing right now. But let's go and visit the Frequently Asked Questions. So the Career Match Frequently Asked Questions will give you answers to questions as how are you ranking the careers, where's the data coming from, and what is a composite score and how does it work? This is all very good information to help you understand the career match scores better. Next, click over to Settings. The Settings page will allow you to change 2 main settings, your composite score settings and your default education level. For the composite score settings, you're changing how Career Match weighs the different assessments that you took. So let's say, for example, you want the personality and interest assessments to weigh higher than the skills and values assessments. All you would need to do then is change the percentages and hit Calc, and then it would recalculate your composite score. The default education level setting is going to inform you of what level of education is going to be displayed when you first press the Career Match button. So if your educational aspirations change, you may want to change the default education level so that you don't have to do extra work after that. Let's go back to Scores. Here you can see you can also choose which assessment scores you're going to view, as well as which level of education is required to attain positions in each occupational level. You can see here they list 5 levels, ranging from high school to graduate degree or higher. You can also select to have all education levels displayed. Once you've made your selection, be sure to press the Go button. You'll see new occupations listed. When one catches your eye, you can click on the briefcase or the letters themselves in the title of the occupation and it will take you to the summary page. Let's click on Advertising Sales Agents. When you click on the occupation title, you'll be taken to the summary page, which includes a job description, related careers, job requirements, salaries, employment by gender, significant points, related majors and degrees, and top 10 industries that employ this occupation. Next, you can click on the description link. Here, they'll give you a sample job description as well as sample job titles. This is especially useful if you've decided that this occupation is something that you'd like to pursue as a career. You'll also see job tasks where they describe general job tasks typical for this occupation. Also, this page will include work activities as well as their importance. And lastly, the description page includes the nature of the work as well as working conditions, and you can click Read More on both of those sections to learn more. Next, we have the Requirements link. This talks about the job requirements and specifically highlights the experience, education, and training you need in order to attain this career. They also list the top 5 skills and top 5 abilities for this occupation. They also include knowledge and the importance of each area of knowledge for this occupation. And lastly, they include training and qualifications for this occupation. The next link we have is Salaries. When you click it, you'll be on the Salary Charts and Graphs tab. Here you can view historical salary by year, historical salary compared with the U.S. average, and historical salary compared with inflation. Next, you can select the other tab, which is Salary by State and City. This will break down salaries by states. Here we'll select Florida, and here you'll see all the different areas in Florida, and you'll be able to access their average hourly pay as well as their average annual salary. The last tab indicates salary by industry, and here you can compare what are the average hourly pays as well as the average annual salaries for different industry categories. Next, let's click the Employment link. This is very similar to the Salaries tab. You can see that you can break down historical employment by year as well as compared with the United States average. Much like the salary page, you can look at the employment by state and city. So here we can select Florida again, and then you can see how many people are employed as advertising sales agents in each area of Florida. Lastly, you can see employment by industry, pretty much the same information as the salary page except for employment. Next, we have articles where you can access much more in-depth explanations of the significant points, nature of the work, working conditions, employment, training and qualifications, job outlook, earnings, and additional sources of information for your selected career. In this video, we're not going to discuss the community link. After thoroughly researching an occupation, you may decide that this is a potential career for you. So then, you want to save this. So go ahead and click in the upper right-hand corner, Add to Portfolio. It will save this occupation in your My Careers folder. You can access that easily on the left-hand side of the screen. Let's go back to the Career Match page. Under the Which Test question, you can select any of the 4 assessments, as well as a composite score, which creates a match score, taking together all of the different assessments that you took. Again, you can select what level of education, including all education levels. Be sure to hit Go in order to populate the right results. If you happen to like a career just based on the title alone, you can add it to your portfolio by clicking the yellow folder under the Portfolio tab. You can also change the number of occupations that are displayed on the page, and on the right-hand side is where you can advance to the next page of occupations. Well, that about wraps up the Career Match portion of this video series. Happy career exploring!
There will come a time when you will be finishing your experience here at LSSC and moving on to another adventure. We can help you with that transition. Be sure to make us part of your success team. Come to CDS.